the third day of the one-week faculty development program on nuances in writing research articles. It is indeed a great pleasure to introduce the resource person for the day, Dr. Vijaya Narayanan. Dr. Vijaya Narayanan is working as an assistant professor, PG and Research Department of Commerce in DG Vaishnav College, Chennai. He has been qualified with doctorate in commerce and specialized in data analytics with a postgraduate diploma in software-based statistical analysis. He was bestowed University 4th rank at MCOM from University of Madras. He holds UGC National Eligibility Test in Commerce and Tamil Nadu State Eligibility Test in Commerce and Management streams. He has proficiency and hands-on experience in SPSS software.
Hello.
Welcome you, sir. Can you start the program? Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sorry for the interruption.
no issues. Thank you so much. So let me start. First of all, I thank the management of Sri Krishna Swami College for Women for calling me for this 1 week faculty development program, which is being hosted by the Department of Commerce in association with IQAC. And I think this is the third day, which deals with questionnaire preparation and questionnaire designing and data preparation. You would have had 2 days wherein you would have discussed about sampling design and how to publish in journals. Okay. So today I wanted to start with how to prepare a questionnaire or how to design it, how to structure it. So that is what I'm going to deal with. So before getting into that, let me share my screen. If in case any, if there is any technical snag, just do let me know so that I can work on it. Now I'm sharing my screen. You can tell me whether it is visible. I guess it is visible. Yes.
Yes,
Yes
sir.
or no?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. It
Thank
is
you.
visible, sir. Yes.
Okay. So thank you once again. This is my topic for the day. And please bear with my sore throat. I'm really not well. So adjust with this volume. I guess my volume will be audible enough. So I'm going to start with questionnaire preparation and preparing the data for analysis. But before that, I always thank my gurus for whom I'm indebted so much. So I would like to start thanking my guide and alma mater, Dr. M.V. Arlaran, who was a former syndicate member in University of Madras, and his guide, Dr. M. Ranganathan, who was a former registrar and head Department of Commerce, and his guide, Dr. O.R. Krishnaswamy, a very renowned researcher, and he was an adjunct professor from San Jose University, National University. And I also extend my thanks to my head and other professors in my college who has given a chance, who has enabled, who has motivated me to take part in these kind of an activities. So with that, this will be the program outline or prelude. So I have to start with the basic introduction, and then I wanted to go on to the measurement of scale and the process of preparing a questionnaire. What are all the major areas that we need to consider while preparing a questionnaire, and how to measure the questionnaire whether it is right. So we have this content validity, we have validity and reliability test. So I want to touch that. And then the data preparedness. What is the procedure from the data collection, and it is the difference between the data collection and the data analysis. Immediately once you collect the data, you are not going to analyze it. There are multiple stages it has to pass through. So that is what we call it as a data preparedness. Okay, So preparing the data for analysis. So this is how I have scheduled for today's 1 hour session. Okay. You can ask me any questions. Probably I would like to answer it at the last. If I know, I'll definitely answer. If I do not know, I will learn and then I will let you know. Okay. So before getting into the questionnaire preparation, I wanted to give few insights about what is statistics and all about. Basically, if you take statistics, it can be divided into three classifications. One is descriptive statistics, predictive statistics, and prescriptive statistics. What is descriptive statistics? As the name suggests, it is descriptive in nature. Descriptive means that which exists. Okay, so that is the simplest form of statistics. So, what is the gold price for the past 50 years? What is the petrol price which has happened for the past 50 years? If I read that, or if I want to do a research in your college, what is the total student strength? What is the total faculty strength? This is just descriptive. It is as it is. Okay. So if I read what it exists, that is what we mean by descriptive statistics. And descriptive statistics basically works on the data, the past data which we have it. And from that, we can get some good insights. That is descriptive statistics. Moving on further, with just descriptive statistics, the scope of statistics is limited. We cannot do anything. Okay, what is the point of having 50 years of gold price or petrol price? Is it going to be used in anything? Yes. By the past data, if you can predict the petrol price for the next 1 month or 3 months, or if you can predict the gold price for next month or for next year or for 5 years down the line, then that is what is predictive statistics. You are predicting something, okay, which may happen in the future. Not definitely, but may happen, likely to happen. Okay. So all this prediction can be considered in predictive statistics. In business, in our day-to-day business, this predictive statistics is very, very important. Say, for example, I have given some examples how long a patient likely to stay in a hospital. And by just stepping into the mall, okay, by giving 2 or 3 questions, I can determine whether that person will buy a product from the shopping mall or not. So that's a predictive modeling. Okay. So that is secondary. The third one is prescriptive statistics. This word is mostly used in medical sciences, right? Prescription. So a doctor examines us, identify what the problem is, and prescribe medicines according to the disease. Correct? Similarly, prescriptive statistics is that part of statistics which will identify what the problem is, and it will prescribe what is the solution for the existing problem. Okay, so that is prescriptive statistics. This is the higher order level which you can learn it. Okay, I have an example where in one Royal Enfield showroom company, the sales was dipping, but in other branches the sales of the Royal Enfield was increasing. So we wanted to do a study where that in the branch where the sales were declining. Okay, we identified what the problem is using the data. Okay, by collecting some data, and then we tried to predict what is happening, and then we prescribed the solution for it, because that branch did not use the genuine parts, so people lost that trust, loyalty, therefore the sales were dipping. So we have prescribed accordingly and the sales picked up. So in simple words, descriptive statistics means what happened in the past and in the present, what is happening. And from that, if you can predict future, that is predictive statistics. If you predict something worst which is going to happen in the future, and if you have the alternative optimal solution to avoid that risk or loss, then that is what we mean by prescriptive statistics. So this is the base behind everything. Okay, now this is another very important concept. in terms of preparing a questionnaire. See, when we prepare a questionnaire, we have a set of questions, right? But all that questions, how is it measured? தமிழ்ல சொல்லணும்னா அளவுகோல் அப்படின்னு நம்ம சொல்லுவோம். We say that measurement is அளவுகோல். How is it measured? Very simple. This is where the great philosopher, okay, Aristotle, he says, measure what is measurable, count what is countable. Please understand this. Measure what is measurable and count what is countable. If I give a handful of sand in your hand and then ask you to count it, is it possible? No, it is not possible. Their counting is not possible, only measurement, 50 grams or 100 grams. Okay, so whatever that can be measured should be measured. Whatever that should be counted should be counted. So basically, the data can be divided into two: numerical, categorical. That is what I have mentioned here: nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. Without knowing these scales, preparing a questionnaire is of no use. Even if you write an article, or if you do an MPhil or a PhD research program, or if you do any other kinds of research, if you are not aware of these scales, then preparing the questionnaire becomes a real tough task. So you need to have an idea about this. What is a nominal scale? As the name suggests, nominating a number or assigning a number to indicate something. I have given an example here. You can see female is 1, male is 0. It is just a number. Since I say female is equal to 1, they are not above the male, or it is not vice versa. 1 represents female, 0 represents male, or 2 represents male, whatever it is. Okay, it is just a number assigned for something. Because when you take the data for analysis, how many male are there, how many female are there, we need to do it. So we need to convert all these words into numbers. So that's the reason why I'm assigning a number. That is what is called as nominal scale. The next comes is ordinal scale. In ordinal scale, there is an order. Please understand, there is an order in which it is arranged. I have given an example of socio-economic class. What is the income category that you belong to? Low income category, middle income category, high income category. So I'm going from low to high, or I can come from high to low, no matter it is. But there is an order in it. Whereas in the nominal scale, there is no order. Whereas in ordinal scale, there is an order: low, middle, high. Look at the next one, interval scale. In interval scale, we know this most important kinds of a scale: 5-point Likert scale, Rensis Likert scale, right? Strongly agree, agree, neutral or undecided, disagree, and strongly disagree. For strongly agree, we give value as 5 because the top positive should always have the highest value. Again, people do it. They give 1 for strongly agree. No, it is wrong. For strongly agree, it is 5, agree 4, undecided 3, disagree 2, strongly disagree 1. Again, if you look at this, there is an order similar to the ordinal scale, correct? But there is not just order, there is also one more point: distance. If you look at the ordinal scale, distance is not there. The difference between the low income and the middle income need not be the same as the middle income and the high income. The distance need not be the same. Low income may be, let's say, 5,000 rupees. Middle income is, let's say, 25,000. High income is, let's say, 1 lakh. Difference between 5,000 and 25,000 is 20,000. Between 25,000 and 1 lakh is 75,000. So the distance is not equal. Whereas in interval scale, the distance is equal. Look at the distance between strongly agree and agree. 5 minus 4, 1. It is as equal as the distance between disagree and strongly disagree, 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. So there is an order, there is a distance. And the last one is ratio scale. This is the most idealistic scale which we need it. This is the best scale that we can say. Why? Because it has origin. Now I ask your opinion. How do you rate my class? Whether do you like my class? Strongly agree? Agree? Okay. So if you strongly disagree, it is 1. If you strongly agree, it is 5. So the scale is between 1 to 5. But if I ask you, can you just give me a marks out of 100? What is the likeliness that you are giving to my session? Some may say 20, some may say 74, some may say 95, some even may say 2 marks only, sir. Okay. Why? Because the ratio scale starts with 0. Please understand. Whereas in interval scale, it is not like that. I have given an example. If student A is scoring 20 and B is scoring 40, we can certainly say that B has scored twice as A. Why? 0 to 20, 0 to 40. So B has scored twice the marks of A. This interval and ratio scale, they are called as numerical scales or measurement scales. It is measured. Whereas the first two, nominal scale and ordinal scale, they are called as categorical scale. Categories thaan adula. They just have categories. Male, female, 2 categories. Low income, middle income, high income, 3 categories. Your educational qualification, school, polytechnic, UG, PG, professional, 5 groups. That's all. So all these are categories. If your data is in nominal or ordinal scale, it is categorical in nature. You cannot do many statistical tests, especially parametric test. Please make a note of it somewhere. Parametric test is not possible if you measure your question in nominal and ordinal scale. Whereas if your question is in interval scale and in ratio scale, then parametric test can be performed. Sir, what is parametric test? I'm not going to deal now because probably if we have time, we'll do it. But simply, I'll give an example. This t-test, f-test or ANOVA, what we call it as, okay, factor analysis, regression, Karl-Pearson's correlation coefficient, okay, paired sample t-test, all these tests are parametric test. If you want to do it, then your data should be either in interval or in ratio. Whereas if you look at Friedman's test, Spearman's rank correlation, okay, all these tests, this need not pass any parameters and chi-square mainly, okay. These tests can be done even for a categorical scale. That is nominal or ordinal scale, even chi-square is possible, okay. So keep this in mind. Without knowing this, preparing a questionnaire is of no use. Okay, in one presentation, I said interval and ratio scale are best because they are measured. Okay, but since I say it is best, it is not necessary that all your questions should be in interval or ratio scale. எல்லாமே interval ratio நம்ம measure பண்ண முடியாது. It is not possible. One boy came up with a sample questionnaire. He's asking number 1, gender, male, female. Then he's asking if male, strongly agree, undecided. When I say this, it is really funny, right? I asked him, why did you prepare the interval scale for gender? He said, sir, you only said interval scale is best. So I prepared like that. No, it is not so. So please understand, interval and ratio are better in a sense that you can apply parametric test if your question is measured in terms of interval and ratio. Please understand. No scale is the best, because if any one of the scale is the best, then why should we study about the other scales? There is no need at all, right? So based on what kind of a question you are going to ask, this actual scale will depend. what scale should be used. I hope I'm clear, loud and clear. Can I proceed further? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is what I wanted to say. In nominal scale, there is no order, there is no distance, there is no origin. Whereas in an ordinal scale, there is an order, but there is no distance on origin. In interval scale, there is a order, there is a distance, but that origin 0 point is not there. Whereas in ratio, there is a order, there is a distance, and there is a origin. Okay. Now let us proceed to preparing the questionnaire. Now you will have a better understanding. See, preparing a questionnaire is not one day job. It requires a long thought process. Nariya yosikino. Okay. And we need to have in-depth knowledge on the review. Okay. Only a better review will give us some variables which can be converted into a question in a questionnaire. Okay. Now, if you look at the primary data collection techniques, I'm not dealing with the secondary data. That is completely a separate chapter. Okay. In terms of primary data, there are various ways. Interview method, projective techniques, focus group interviews, questionnaire method, and so many things. Observation method. Okay. Not all the research programs can be done by collecting the questionnaire. For example, I want to make a study about a tribal community. I cannot prepare a questionnaire and go and share with a tribal community. That is not possible. I have to observe them and then make a record of it. Only observation will help me in that. Now I'm doing some lab test. Observation only will work. Questionnaire will not work. Okay. But today we are focusing on the questionnaire method. Okay. So I'll restrict my points only to the questionnaire and not anything else. Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay. So in preparing a questionnaire, there is a lot of dimensions or lot of angles which we need to give a due care in preparing it. Number one, what is the data need determination? What is the data that I should collect? Okay, for that, you need to have a better understanding about your research topic. If I want to put it in a local, in a vernacular language, என்ன நமக்கு வேணும் அப்படின்னா முதல்ல நான் என்ன தலைப்புல நான் வந்து ரிசர்ச் பண்றேன். ஐ நீட் டு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் தட் வெரி கிளியர்லி. என்னுடைய தலைப்பு என்ன, வாட் இஸ் மை ரிசர்ச் டாபிக், and what are the questions which are related to that. That is very important. Only when I have that clarity, I know what is the question that I need to ask. Let's say, for example, I am making a study about customer satisfaction of some product. Okay, if I ask you whether you belong to which religion, are you married or divorced or separated, these questions have nothing to do with customer satisfaction. But just because I want to ask questions, I can add any nonsense. So the first requirement is, what is your data requirement? That is very important. Determine that properly. How can you determine? By deep analysis of research objectives. Based on the title of the study, you will come up with what are your research objectives. That research objectives will give an vision or insight in what question you should ask. Then there are some investigative questions which may answer your research objectives. Decide that, determine that. And what are the questions which will elicit the response, which means எந்த கொஸ்டின் கேட்டா நம்ம என்ன PhD ரிசர்ச் டாபிக்கு பண்றோமோ அதுக்கு தேவையான டேட்டா கிடைக்கும். That is very important. So first you need to understand what is the data that you need. So that can be determined only when you have clarity, only when you know what exactly your research objectives, okay, what is your hypothesis, what is the statement of the problem. All these things, only when you have clarity, you may get what is the data that I need. That is one. Number two, always step into the shoes of your respondents. Think from their aspect. You are the master of your own research degree because you have gone through extensive review of literature. You know all the technical words in your study. But as a respondent, I may not know whatever that you know. So if you put hard questions or technical jargons, then I may not answer properly. So first you need to understand who is our target audience, who is our respondents. That is very important. And what is their level of knowledge? Will they understand the same question in the same manner what I am asking? நான் கேட்கிற கேள்வியை அதே அர்த்தத்துல அவங்க புரிஞ்சுப்பாங்களா? That is very important. Do they have specialized knowledge or are they layman? That is very important. If you are doing a study with respect to illiterate people, then this questionnaire is not at all useful because they don't have the capacity to read. So then they are called schedule. The same questionnaire, when it is given to an illiterate, it's called schedule. You know why? Because he is not filling the questionnaire. There is one person who will read out the question and that respondent, illiterate respondent, will answer and this person will mark. There it is not called as a questionnaire, it is called as a schedule. Please understand the difference between questionnaire and schedule. Okay, so first understand the need. What is the data that you need? Number two, what is the respondents level for which we have to ask questions. Number three, decision of data gathering method. This is where how do you go and approach. Okay, because questionnaire is basically called as sampling instrument. Again, I will introduce two terminologies here: sampling instrument, sampling tool. Okay, sorry, sampling tool and sampling technique. There are two terms. Sampling instrument and sampling tool, both are same. Sampling technique is different. Okay, these questionnaires are basically a sampling tool, and with that available, whatever the data that you are collecting, okay, you do analysis, right? That is what we mean by statistical technique. Let's say I want to screw. Okay, I want to screw. There is some nuts and bolts which is very loose. Okay, now what is that I need? I need a screwdriver. That is a tool. With that tool, what should I do? I have to screw it up. But if I hang or if I hammer with a screwdriver, that is a wrong technique. Correct? Questionnaire is a statistical tool. Tool in the sense by which you collect the data. Once you collect the data, you apply the statistical techniques. That is where all this statistical techniques comes into picture. So statistical tool, statistical technique, both are different. They are not same. Many of the people have an opinion that both are same. No, it is not. A questionnaire is a statistical tool. An observation method is a statistical tool. Okay, by which you collect the data. Okay, so what is the data gathering method? Point number three. Okay, whether you are going in person and collecting face-to-face interaction, and thereafter came the mail survey. They used to mail it. Now we have G forms, right? Google forms, right? For anything and everything we use Google form. But the problem is every method has got its own advantages as well as disadvantages. When you go face to face, you can easily collect the data and you can you can rectify the or clarify any questions if the respondents have got. Okay, but you cannot collect as many as you can. Whereas in Google form you can collect a lot of questions, but the problem is what is the response rate. See, to do a research paper, I have emailed to at least 200 to 400 people, but hardly 20 or 30 responses actually comes in Google form for me. The problem is the response rate is poor. So every method has got its advantages as well as disadvantages. So you need to decide based on your structuring, based on your questionnaire design and other things. If you have more questions, okay, then face to face may help. G form may not be, because G form, if you have 1 page or 2 page maximum, they will answer, or maximum 20 questions if you have, they will answer. If you ask 200 questions for your research question, for your research project, PhD research project, or if you ask 100 plus questions, then nobody will fill the Google form. That's the problem. Okay, that's the problem many of the research scholars are facing today. Then once you do all these things, now comes the instrument drafting. Drafting the instrument means shaping the questionnaire, designing the questionnaire. First, broad outline of the instrument may be drafted. Each one has meaning. Let's say consumer satisfaction. Okay, just for an easy example, let me say that I want to do, yeah, okay, let me take this one. Whether people are satisfied with this session. That is my Google form that I need to prepare. Okay, what are all the broad outlines that I have to think it? How is the volume or the voice of the speaker? Did he show good PPT or clear PPT? Okay, did you have any technical snag? Okay, and was he able to answer all your questions? Did you understand what he say? Did he simplify the concepts and in such a way that you can understand? Did he make more jokes in between the class so that you listen to it? Now many of you, I do not know, majority of you are listening or not, since it is being streamed in YouTube, right? So I may not know. So in order to ensure that, see how many questions are there, how many outlines, how many angles for measuring the satisfaction of this 1 hour class. Similarly, whatever the dimensions related to your study, all these things should be categorized, outline kondu varano. Okay, and under each categories, there must be some certain number of questions which must be drafted. Then very important, sequencing. Which part should come first? Which part should come next? That is very important. In certain questionnaires, first they will ask you number of children, and then the fifth question will be, are you married? There is no sequence here, right? When I say it looks funny, but this may work in US culture, but not for the Indian culture. Correct? Because there the culture is different. Okay, so when you prepare a questionnaire, even sequencing is very important, and whatever the questions to be asked under each group must be properly listed out, and then it must be drafted. The instrument must be drafted. Okay, and once it is done, it's not over. It has to be tested, it has to be evaluated. When you evaluate, what are the things that you need to keep it in mind? Whatever the question that you ask, is it having any relevance to the research objective? நம்மளுடைய ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ்க்கும் நம்ம கேட்ட கேள்விக்கும் சம்பந்தம் இருக்கா இல்லையா? That is very important. Always you prepare any number of questions, doesn't matter, but check whether any correlation is there or not between the question that you have asked and your research objective. And what kind of a question have you asked? Open-ended question or a structured question? Now if I ask age 18 to 25, 25 to 33, that's a closed group. If I ask open 25, 27, 39, any answer may come. That's an open-ended. Which is required? Again, you need to decide. The research scholar has to decide. Ambiguity irukakudadu. There should not be any confusion. There should not be any confusion or lack of clarity. Practicability of the question is very important. That must not demand our knowledge, which means you must not make your respondent to think an answer. Just like that, அவன் ஆன்சர் பண்ணணும். அவனை ரொம்ப யோசிக்க வைக்கக்கூடாது. Validity of the question, whether that question is valid or not. Leading question இருக்கக்கூடாது. You can look at an example. Are you against giving too much power to trade unions? If you ask that question, you are influencing the respondent. Is it not? Are you against giving too much power to trade unions? அப்படின்னா என்ன கேக்குறீங்க? Trade unionsக்கு power கொடுக்க கூடாது. That is the meaning that it conveys, right? So that should not be like that. The researcher should ask the question in neutral, no bias, neither positive nor negative. Neutral இருக்கணும். And it should have a logical and psychological order. Length of the question is also very important. So இதெல்லாம் நீங்க evaluate பண்ணு. You have to evaluate all these things when you prepare your questionnaire. And after that, it must go for pre-testing. Pilot study is different. Pre-testing is different. Pre-testing is a small part. Pilot study is an entire miniature which is done it. Pre-testing is a part of pilot study. Okay? Pre-testing purpose, what is it? Why do we need to do it? Whether the instrument will get us the answer what we expect, whether the content is relevant, whether it is adequate enough to analyze the data, whether all the wordings are clear or not, because sometimes unwanted words may be there, sometimes confusing words may be there. So those things can be taken out by pre-testing the questionnaire. And lastly, it tests the questionnaire structure and the sequence. So these are the things which you need to keep it in mind when preparing a questionnaire. I'll just repeat. What is the determination for our data need? The need for the data, and look for the respondents level. Decide the data gathering technique, instrument drafting, evaluation of the draft instrument, and pre-testing. These many stages has to be passed when preparing a questionnaire. A simple do's and don'ts. Should specify the purpose for which the information is required. That is very important, because when you give, you have to give the confidentiality to the audience that, see, this is the basic objective behind my research. I do it for a research, educational research. I will not share the data. Only then the respondents will come forward. Else they will say, why do you ask all these questions? What are you going to do with my data? Right? So that purpose should be specifically mentioned. Then use simple language. Avoid the technical jargons. Okay? Make it specific. Make it clear. Avoid personal questions. Avoid sensitive questions. Have a logical sequence. And many a times we repeat the questions voluntarily or involuntarily. நமக்கு தெரியாமலே first question 10th question same இருக்கும், but there will be in a different words. So please ensure that you are not repeating the questions. So once you prepare it, sit and read for yourself multiple number of times. Give it to your fellow research scholars to study. Let them come with a criticism. That is the best way to shape a questionnaire. Questionnaire should not be a lengthy one. Irrelevant questions don't ask. And margin, this is a typical old thing, so I'm not going with the 9th one. And instrument must be adequately pre-tested. Once you prepare it, give it to the subject matter expert, give it to your fellow research scholars, give it to your family people also, because they are a third party. They will read and they will have a different idea, because you would have prepared with particular meaning, but when a third party reads it, he will understand in a different way, so that you can understand, okay, fine, my questionnaire is not doing well. Then you can ask his opinion and you can redo it, you can refine it, you can chisel it. செதுக்கலாம், refine பண்ணி ஆகணும். In one day a questionnaire is not prepared. Please take from me, if someone says I'm preparing it in a day, then that questionnaire maybe may have much flaws also. there are chances for that. Okay, so this is regarding the first part of my session, that is preparing the questionnaire. The next one is the data preparation, but before that I'll go to validity and reliability test. What is a validity? Valid means, is the question what I ask is valid to the topic or not? That is what we have been referring to, correct? How accurately it measures what I am intended to measure. கஸ்டமர் சாட்டிஸ்ஃபேக்ஷன் அப்படி சொன்னா அதை எப்படி நான் மெஷர் பண்றேன்? பிரைஸ், ஓகே, quality of the product, all these things are only determining the satisfaction. But anything which is not related to satisfaction, if I ask, then that is not a valid question. In validity there are 3 levels, but I'm speaking only 2: content validity, construct validity. Content validity means whether that question is definitely needed here. Is it related to the topic? உண்மையிலே நம்மளுடைய ரிசர்ச் ப்ரோக்ராம்க்கு அந்த கொஸ்டின் தேவையா? That is content. If you definitely feel that question is important, the next is how do you construct it? How do you measure it? I asked you, right, what gender you belong to, male, female. That is a right content. But construct, it should be male, female only. But if you say if male, strongly agree, strongly disagree, that is where the wrong construction is made. Okay, the wrong construction. Gender should be only in nominal scale. It cannot be in interval or ratio scale. Gender adin போட்டு ஓபனா நம்ம விட முடியாது. It must be in groups, right? Either you say male or you say female or you say the third gender, right? So content, construct, both are important. Validity basically measures how accurately you wanted to. Reliability refers to the consistency. நிலையாக. Okay, in consistency we have 3: test, retest, that is for time, that is it doesn't change over the period of time. Across items in the sense the variables that you are listing in the questionnaire, and across different researchers, that is what we call inter-rater reliability. Okay, across time, across variables, across different researchers, the questionnaire should be a reliable one. ஒரு questionnaire பண்ணி உங்களுக்கு ஒரு மாதிரி ஆன்சர் வருது, எனக்கு ஒரு மாதிரி ஆன்சர் வந்தா, that is not a reliable questionnaire. And to check this reliability only, we go with Cronbach Alpha. Many of you may know it, right? And the Cronbach Alpha is done basically to test the internal consistency. அதாவது இப்போ for example, if you ask 8 or 9 or 10 variables, if all the 10 variables are related, to check the consistency only, we are going with reliability. If the values are 0.7 and more, then there is a good reliability. If it is less than 0.4, it is not acceptable. You can find the values here, okay, and the interpretation of that Cronbach Alpha. And this is the formula which we use it. This is very technical. I don't want to get into that. Okay, so validity refers to the measurement. Reliability refers to the consistency of the data. Now I am coming to the data analysis. The data processing is basically an intermediary stage between data collection and data analysis. Once you collect the data, the very next day you are not going to start with data analysis. எடுத்த உடனே அப்படியே எடுத்து T test, F test, factor analysis, regression, SEM model. No, you will not do that way. Once you collect the data, there are certain procedures which are involved in order to start our data analysis. That time period is what we call it as a data processing. That stage is what we call it as a data processing. It involves data editing, data coding, data classification, data tabulation. After this only, the data is prepared, the data is ready for the analysis. Okay, what is data editing? To find error, to find omissions and correct them. That data editing can be done at 2 points of time. 1, at the time of recording the data itself we can do it. 2, at the time of Before the analyzing the data, we can do it. In terms of recording the data, is the data consistent? Is there any missing values which are there? We can look at it. Is the coding frame complete? All the number of cases are correct or not? Has the correct data has been framed or not? Okay, I'll give an example for this. For checking the quality of data collected, take a small sample of questionnaire. Let's say 50 to 100 samples you take. Okay, check whether all the questions are answered. Because if you see in many of the questionnaire, there are certain areas which are not answered by the respondents. If it is not answered, then as a research scholar, you have to omit that. You should not take that for analysis. Sir, ஒரு 5 question தானே சார் நான் டிக் அடிச்சிடுறேன் சார். No, the researcher should not do that. It is violating the ethics, the research ethics. Okay, whether all the answers are properly recorded or not, see for it. See whether there is any bias or not. See for the consistency. Look for the consistency. Very important. Data editing, you have to see two things. One is completeness, the next one is accuracy. Look for the completeness. See all the questions whether it is answered or not. I'll give an example here. Marital status they have not answered, and then they have answered the number of children. From this we can deduce, but again we may not know the the clarity of the data. But since they say number of children, we deduce from the logic that they are married. The approximate family income, if they are not giving us, okay, that can be identified from the spending pattern, from the savings pattern. We can approximately deduce this logic. Okay, so completeness is very important in data editing. The next one is the accuracy. Accuracy must be tested. Take some random questionnaires and check for the consistency. Sometimes you know what happened? Total monthly income, they will give it as 30,000, and total monthly consumption they will say 50,000. You may say, sir, 20,000 rupees loan, sir. But if you say for all time, then it is not possible. Educational level mentioned as school, but in occupation they are mentioning it as managerial. They don't give it. In age group they are mentioning 20 to 30, and if you ask in occupation, they would have marked as retired. Again, there is an inconsistency. Marital status they have marked as single, but they are giving answer for number of children. Okay, have you done online shopping? They have answered no, but still they will give satisfaction level for online shopping. When you have not shopped in online, then how do you have that satisfaction level? So this is where the inconsistency, fake responses, manipulated data. So data editing is very important before you take the data for analysis. I hope I'm making my point clear. I hope my people are listening over there. My audience is listening over there. The next step is data coding. This is very, 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 very important. When you take your data for analysis, all the analysis should have numbers. It cannot have it cannot have alphabetics. Okay, in order to do the analysis, because the SPSS understands only the number. It doesn't understand the words. Okay, so numeric coding can be given. For example, I told you male 1, female 2. I'm giving a code number. Okay, alphabetic coding, I'm giving for taking responses from different states. For the data which I collect from Tamil Nadu, I give TN. For the data which I collect from Karnataka, I give KA. So that's an alphabetic coding that I give it. Okay, so the coding can be numerical coding, which is definitely taken for the analysis, but for representing something for mere tabulation alone, not for the analysis, I give alphabetic coding. But this zero coding must be very, very careful. Even in the previous example, what I said, female is 1, male is 0. That is wrong. Male should be given 2, because if nobody, if somebody has not mentioned what their gender is, then that must be given 0, because 0 represents no response. Okay, so data coding is very important. Okay, and a coding frame for your entire questionnaire must be prepared. Each respondent should be given a code number. Okay, quantitative variables must be coded. Okay, you can see here nominal scale, yes 1, no is 2. That is the right way of doing. No is not 0, because 0 means no response. Then you look at it, ordinal scale, low income 1, middle income 2, high income 3. There is an order, but not this way. This is wrong. Look at the interval scale, as I said earlier. And in ratio scale, it must be open. What is your age? 39. What is your height? 180 centimeters. What is your weight? 75 kg. What is your income? Let's say 30,000 or 35,000. That is ratio scale. Exactly what it is. That's how it has to be done. So this is coding. Alphabetic coding for a private company, PT, public, PB. So this is how I give it. So here if you see CHPT 121, it's a Chennai, and PT represents private, and this is the 121 respondent number. Okay, this is how I identify. This is what we call it as a data coding. So we saw what is data editing, what is data coding. Then comes data classification. We can classify based on certain homogeneity. Okay, that is what we call it as a data classification. You can see it here. Geographically, I can divide state wise, region wise, locality wise. You can see simple classification: rural, urban. That's all. I'm dividing the entire population into rural, urban. I'm going for a manifold. Look at it: teaching staff, non-teaching. And in teaching, I want to know how many male, how many female. In non-teaching, how many male, how many female. And here if you see discrete variable, discrete means one number. 0 children in 12 families, 1 children in 23 families, it's one number. Whereas if you see here 10,000 to 20,000, it is a continuous distribution. There the number of children is discrete. No children, 1 children, 2 children, 3 children, 4 childrens, right? Whereas here the income is in continuous distribution, 10,000 to 20,000. So you can classify your data based on this. Okay, that is what we mean by data classification. And there is something called data transcription, which means assigning the value for the variables. You can see consumer satisfaction, there are 10 statements: CS1, CS2, CS3. I'm just naming it. That is what we call it as a data transcription. Then comes data tabulation. Classification is different, tabulation is different. Tabulation means we are preparing a table for further analysis. Okay, you can see a simple table example. What is the census here? What is the population? Now look at the same but in a complex way. Here total is there, but how many rural, how many urban? Now I'm making much more classification in this. Okay, so a statistical table should contain certain components. Number one, it should contain a table, name of the table, caption head. This is what we mean by rural, urban, total. These are called legends. Okay, and the row heading, which is called a stub. What is it? Census years. Okay, body of the, that's where the main data actually comes in. And then end note, if there is any, whether it is in tens or rounding off to the next number, something like that. And the source note, where did you collect this from? Okay, so a statistical table must have all these things. Okay, these are some of the guidelines for a good tabulation. A good table must be clear and self-explanatory. Rows and columns must be clearly numbered. Table should not be so big. It should not be carrying to the next pages. Okay, as simple as that. And units of measurement is very important, whether in terms of rupees or in terms of dollars or in terms of units. What is that it is showing? Okay, in the previous table, it is the number of people which I'm referring to. That should be given units of measurement. I didn't give that. Okay, and columns and rows must be brought together. Okay, decimal points should be in perfect alignments. In one place you are giving 2-digit decimal places, and in another you give 3-digit. No, uniformity must be mentioned. 2-digit means have 2-digit across the tables. 3-digit means have 3 digits. Okay, and abbreviations should be avoided. Definitely it should be avoided. Okay, if in case it is a bigger one, then make it abbreviated and give in the last what is that abbreviation means. Give it in footnote below the table. That is very important. So these are the major stages. What are they? Data editing, data coding, data classification, data transcription, data tabulation. Once you do all these things, now your data is ready for data analysis. This is how we prepare the data from the time of collecting it to the starting point of data analysis. Okay, these are some of the good books which I can refer. You can have a look at it. This is an excellent book for research methodology. The first one, my professor's professor, Dr. M. Ranganathan and O.R. Krishnaswamy. Top class book. Because many of you have awareness about C.R. Kothari, right? For research methodology. Please read these books. Dr. Uma Segaran. That's again a top-notch research methodology books. And this is my favorite, Andy Fields, Discovering Statistics. And these are some of the books which I can refer. And this is again for advanced learners. Professor Dinesh Kumar's Business Analytics is from IIM Bangalore. One of the top-notch books, okay, which I can refer. So if you read much, you will get more clarity. That will definitely help you to prepare a better questionnaire. Okay, so these are the data process which I want you to see. Just have a look at it. It's a self-explanatory. We have to check the questionnaire, edit, code, transcribe, clean the data, statistically adjust it, and then only we have to go with data analysis. This is the data preparation process. And thank you so much for the patience listening. I'm ready to take questions. Thank you so much. I stopped sharing my slide. I have stopped sharing. I'm ready to take questions. I hope you would have enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Any questions? I got one comment from a person. It was informative. Thank you so much for that. But if I can have some questions, I'm ready to take it. I think it's very self-explanatory, right? The topics, whatever that I discussed, it's very easy to say. It's very easy for me to take lecture, but it's very, very difficult. Yeah. Can you tell the maximum number of questions to have in a questionnaire? Again, it depends on what kind of a study that you do, Miss or Mrs. Sharmila Bhaskaran. That's a good question. This is a normal question which majority of the people say, sir, how much question should I have it? There is no hard and fast rule. What is your topic? Even with 10 questions, you can do PhD. Even with 1,000 questions, you cannot start doing PhD. Okay? Number of questions doesn't matter. But those questions, if it answers your research objectives, if the number of questions, whatever that you asked, if it is fulfilling the conditions of your research objectives, then that is adequate. If you can justify that, if you can convince, if you can prove it, even 10 questions is okay. I have come across with a dissertation consisting of 30 pages. Okay, so you want to repeat the name of the books? One, Methodology of Research in Social Sciences by O.R. Krishnaswamy and Ranganathan. That is from Himalaya Publications. And the next one is Research Methods for Business, okay, by Dr. Uma Segaran. That's again a very good book. I think these two would do because the remaining things are to do with SPSS and other things, Andy Fields, okay. Okay, so do we have to divide our research topic into dependent and independent data variables while entering the data in SPSS? Yes, because at the end of the day, if you see, the entire analysis about two things. One is finding the differences and the finding the associations. So for most of our social science research topics, okay, I'm not speaking about the life science, but I'm speaking about the social science, which consists of commerce, and management and psychology, and stuffs like that, right? We may classify into dependent and independent and see how much the independent variable influences the dependent. Let's say for consumer satisfaction also, that's the same example again and again, I'm repeating it. Consumer satisfaction is the dependent variable that is decided by many independent variables such as price, the quality, the affordability, the safety measures of the product. All these things are independent variables which has an impact on the satisfaction level. Similarly, the way I spoke, the way I presented, okay, my voice, my tone, all the things only will decide the satisfaction of the listeners. So yes, we can divide our research topic. There is no, yeah, you can do that. Thank you, Tamilchelvi ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Deepak. Excellent, Rinky. Ms. Rinky, what should be the sample size? Is there any connection between number of questions and sample size? This is the question which I was looking for. There is, yeah, a kind of a relationship, but there is no hard and fast rule again. The sample size should be adequate. That is one. Okay. In order to know the sample size, first we need to know the population size of the study. Okay. Now, if I want to know the satisfaction of this audience, okay, let's say 200 people are there. Okay. I can collect data from all 200, doesn't matter because population is less. But if there are 2000 people who are listening to this, okay, then I cannot collect from all the 2000. Then I have to resort to the sampling technique. Okay, based on what my based on what my population, I will decide the sample size. It is a very brief, it is a very depth area. I think time won't be enough, but there are sample size estimators which you can find it in online. Majority of, there are multiple formulas for calculating the sample size estimator. If you read that Uma Segaran book, there is a table called sample size estimators where it is very clearly given if your population is this much, what should be your sample size. One. And when you want to do this factor analysis kind of statistical techniques, they normally say that minimum 10 to 20 responses per variable is required. For example, if you ask 10 questions regarding customer satisfaction, 10 questions, 10 variables, okay, for each variable we need to have minimum 20 responses. So 10 into 20, 200. This is again, there is no hard and fast rule. It's just a rule of thumb which I'm referring to. Okay, so minimum, in order to factorize, you need to have at least 200 responses. Okay, so it's a big area. I think this 1 hour may not be sufficient. Probably we may discuss it in a later stage, but that's a real good question. Thank you. Can you please explain the process of determining validity of a questionnaire? Yes, in validity there are content validity, construct validity, okay, and one more, I forgot the name, congruent validity, I guess, if I'm not wrong, right? So validity means if that question is really valid to the topic or not. You can approach the subject matter experts and ask their opinion. They would be able to guide us. That is content. For construct, that's where actually the statistician's roles play a greater role. And if you learn statistics, it's easy. Okay, believe me, learning statistics and doing the analysis on your own is not a big deal. You can learn over a period of time. There is not necessary that you need to have a strong statistical background. I come from a non-mathematical background, okay, but still I analyzed my own data, okay, for my PhD program, and I also teach people, okay. I teach in various platforms, okay. I started loving statistics, okay. So you can learn, even a non-mathematical people can learn statistics? Muthu Ganeshwari. If the population is infinite, how we calculate sample size? Excellent question. When the population is infinite, that is one. And second, if the population is unknown, let's say we do not know, it is unknown, okay? Or if the population is infinite, then calculation of sample size may not be sufficient. That is where what I normally say, any number more than 400 or 500 questionnaires, okay, if you collect more than 400 to 500, that tends to normal distribution. That will take care of the sample size. That's my personal opinion, okay? If you calculate 500 plus, don't worry, your representativeness will be there. Again, provided this is a very deep topic that I have to see. For example, I want to do a study about the spending pattern of Chennai people. Okay, Chennai has almost 2 crores of population, floating, adding the floating population and other things. Okay, I am from South Chennai. If I collect 1,000 data, but still it is not representativeness because I am ignoring the central Chennai and the North Chennai, North Madras, right? So I cannot be saying that I have collected the entire Chennai. No. Since I am in South Chennai, I am collecting 1,000, but that doesn't matter. Even if I collect 500, 200 or 250 from each of the part of Chennai, then I can say that as representativeness. Okay. So again, it's a rule of thumb. I say normally to my audience that anything 500 and above, provided if it is representative in nature, I think that should be sufficient enough. Hope I have answered it. Thank you. Any other questions? And there are plenty of Swayam courses which is being introduced by MHRD. I am also doing 2 or 3 courses. Please make use of these Swayam courses to learn statistics. From the scratch they start. Okay, and many of you would have started, many of you would have learned statistics at your undergraduate level at least, if not PG. Okay, so you have an idea about what statistics is all about. So please learn it. That's my humble request from my side. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
winding
you,
up my
sir.
session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we have come to an end of today's session. I express my heartfelt gratitude to our resource person of the day, Dr. Vijay Narayanan, for sharing his valuable knowledge with us on how to construct a questionnaire and preparing data for analysis, and also recommending us some good books for reference. I would like to thank the management, dean, principal, and heads of the departments for their support and encouragement in organizing this faculty development program. I would also like to thank all the participants for the active participation. Once again, thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I wind up. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.